FJ equals freedom and joy, and of course, if it equals freedom and joy, we are not going to get it in Europe. Imagine that. They have launched a new Toyota FJ Cruiser to come out in 2026, and this is that's pretty cool news. I had an original FJ Cruiser from the 2000s. It was a great car, one of the best cars I've ever owned. Unbelievably capable, fast, comfortable, reliable. Did absolutely incredible in Los Angeles. I owned it in Dubai, and it was amazing off-roader, like stock, so capable. You could do a little few mods on it, and it was just brilliant car. And Toyota bringing out a new FJ is really cool. I've got the video of it playing here of the launch. They haven't given out a lot of details yet, but it seems like it's going to be built on the platform of the small Hilux that's made in Thailand, the utility one. It looks to be bigger than a Jimny, four-door, a little bit bigger, about half a metre bigger than that. It still looks like a little compact car, but it's a segment up from a Jimmy, which is pretty nice. 2.7 litre NA petrol. There's no talk of hybrids or electric or any garbage like that. It's just going to be pure petrol, NA, little revvy. 2.7, so not even really a small engine. It's not like a Jimmy 1.5 or 1.3. It's a decent sized engine, 2.7. And ladder frame, so body on chassis, like a real off-roader. It looks like tough and cool. It's a sort of middle ground in between a 70 series and the new 250, the new Land Cruiser Prado, which I don't really think's all that. But interesting, what did they say? Horsepower, it's not massive on horsepower. I think they said it's 163 bhp, so not super powerful. Probably be under 2 tons. That's an estimate, just looking by the size of it and the configuration. The original FJ Cruiser, the mid-2000s, with the 1GRFE engine, was 236 brake horsepower and weighed pretty much bang on 2 tons. So it's not going to have the same levels of performance. The original FJ Cruiser had fantastic performance. It was a really good car. Good sounding car also for a V6. So, but it's a nice little revvy petrol 4-cylinder. 2.7 should sound pretty good also. But what's disappointing is that Europe is not going to get it again. In the presentation, they say FJ equals freedom and joy, and of course, if it equals freedom and joy, we are not going to get it in Europe. Imagine that. It's quite comedy, but there's no way it could come to Europe with a 2.7 litre petrol engine. And I think it just says a lot about Toyota. Toyota, the world's biggest car manufacturer by market share, and do they even bother to bring any of their good cars to Europe anymore? We don't get a 300 series, we don't get a 70 series, we don't get an Alphard, we don't get any of the Crowns. We get a load of RAV4 hybrids, and we do get the GR products. So we get the Supra, which is now gone, which also essentially a BMW. We get the Yaris and the 86, but the 86 the new 86, just a car that just never really seemed to appear in Europe. We just don't see them anywhere. And there's quite a lot of Yarises around here, but do we really think that Toyota would rather make a 4-cylinder turbo 4-wheel drive Yaris or a 1.3 turbo cylinder? This emissions and forcing people into stupid engines. Imagine how good the Yaris would have been if it was a 4-cylinder and not a fucking 3-cylinder. Do you know what I mean? Just sturdier. I'm sure it's quite a sturdy car, but I sort of worry for the longevity of buying a 10-year-old Yaris that's been ragged with that small engine. Do you know what I mean? It says a lot when Toyota the world's biggest manufacturer of cars is really, why would they even bother trying to give us any of this good stuff to Europe? It's so much easier for them just to sell cars in Asia, the Middle East, and the global South. Obviously, this is going to be the ideal market for those places, a little rugged 4x4. And it seems like could be an excellent seller for them. Whereas, look at the European brands, look at Volkswagen, look at how Volkswagen has like fallen off the people's car, and now we're just on hybrid, electric, garbage everywhere. And it really sort of shows in like Toyota's market share globally compared to Volkswagen's. I was actually looking at some of the figures of Toyota and Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen has 645,000 staff members. Toyota has 380,000 staff members. Volkswagen has 10 brands and Toyota has 3 brands, right? So you think how Volkswagen is a massive company compared to Toyota. Toyota makes almost 2 million vehicles more a year than Volkswagen, and Toyota has a net profit margin of 9% versus Volkswagen's 3.3%. And it's like really sort of eye-opening as to how the European car industry is just lost. I say a lot in these videos about the number of Chinese cars I see here in Spain. And even just yesterday, the sheer number of these new Ebro brands, like most people outside of Spain are going to be like, what is an Ebro? Ebro is a cherry, basically a cherry brand, but they are manufactured in Spain under the Ebro name, which is an old Spanish name. Ebro used to be tied up with Ford and a lot of things, but they've brought the name back under the Cherry brand, and they're not even building cars, they assemble kits to beat the tariffs of Chinese Cherry cars in an old Nissan factory in Barcelona, and they call them Ebros, but they're basically Cherry cars. And just everything around here on the road now is JQs and Ebros and Xpengs, just everywhere. And then you just look at Volkswagen. So what is Volkswagen? Even now, I'm seeing less and less. When the Cupras were sort of first launched, I was seeing quite a lot of the Cupras, the Borns, and the Formentors, and these things around. But that seems to have like dried up the supply of this new people buying new Seats, and it's just an explosion of Chinese cars. And then when you just look at the figures like of Toyota, what they're doing globally, and the profits they're making, the money they're making, it's like, how much of an effort are you going to put into Europe? I think Toyota's market share in Europe is 7.1% against 12% globally and 7% in Europe. It's like, what's the point in EVID? Volkswagen's 26% in Europe, but how much of that is just getting gobbled up by the Chinese? I'd like to see in 2 years where Volkswagen's market share is compared to. It's hard to compare just against one brand because there's so many Chinese brands, but it's great watching this little Toyota come out, and then I'm just like, I'm never going to be able to get one. I'm a lover of Toyotas. I have had a FJ. I have an original FJ 40 downstairs as we're restoring. I've owned a 71 series. I've owned a 73 series. I've owned a 79 series. I think that's all the Land Cruisers I've had. But yeah, love a 70 series Land Cruiser. Oh, I had an FJ Cruiser, 2000s FJ Cruiser also. So I'm a real lover of Toyota 4x4s. And to see this new little one getting launched, like when the new FJ came out, I bought one like straight away. It was right on it. It was sand beige, and I loved it. Brilliant car. And now you're just watching this. I'm watching this new FJ coming out, and I'm like, oh, freedom and joy, not for you. No freedom and joy for you. And it's like this little 2.7. 2.7 is manageable in Europe. You know, petrol prices are down quite a bit. We've got a global glut of oil supply. You know, petrol prices should be coming well down, but alas, they are not. But even at around 2.7 petrol, you could probably run that here. I've run worse cars here already, so it's something that could be manageable. But you just know that it's never going to come here. Probably with the ladder chassis and the small size of it, it would be difficult to meet collision standards also, and you know, but they're talking about a $35,000 sale price is what I saw. It said online. That's a cheap car, especially when you put the dollar into pounds and euros right now. So another thing we're never going to see here or get to enjoy. You know, obviously the last FG Cruiser was never sold in Europe, so I couldn't have got one here either. And they are imported ones into Europe are really crazy expensive. They're more expensive now than when I bought one here than when I bought one brand new in the Middle East. So it's not something you would ever buy. And I think the 4 litre V6 would be pretty crippling here because first of all, it's a car that likes to be driven like a hooligan, especially if you've got some Doug Thornley long tube headers on it or something. Sounds like a beast. So it's just not really a car for Europe. But this little FG Cruiser is, and we're just not going to get to see it, are we? No way. That's a shame. Or we'll probably get to see some hybrid version of it that's going to be 60 grand. Probably. But even I think also it would be a great little commercial if you got it like they've done with the new Land Cruiser, the new Prado. Stop calling it Land Cruiser. The new Prado we've got in the UK is available now as a commercial with back windows blacked out. If you could get this as a little commercial through your company, pay no VAT on it, what a great deal! What a great little farm run around, great little car that would be. But even with a 2.7, you could tow a trailer, you could tow your race car and stuff with it. But we're not going to get it. I'm forlorn that I'll probably never see one on the roads here. And also the 300 series. You're never going to see the 300 series either. You know, or an Alphard, or a Crown. All the good Toyota stuff that we just don't get. Oh well. We'll wrap that up there. That's enough of a rant about how we're not getting the new Toyota IFG Cruiser in Europe. Freedom and joy.